our regular meeting of January 5th, 2023. And our first order of business is going to be approval of the minutes for the subcommittee special meeting of November 28th. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
If there's no conversation on that, then we'll go ahead and call to those in favor of approving those minutes, say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed say nay. Okay, we'll approve those.
Getting a little flippant, are we?
Hey, last day.
You can do whatever you want.
Exactly. She's got short
What are you
timers.
gonna do, fire me?
Okay, now we're gonna move on to approve the minutes of our regular meeting of December 1st. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say yay.
Yay.
Opposed say nay.
Nay. No, just kidding.
Okay, we'll go ahead and approve those. Next, we're gonna call for a motion to approve the minutes of our subcommittee special meeting of December 12th.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor say yeah.
Yeah.
All those opposed say nay. Then we will approve those minutes. And finally, approval of our minutes from the special meeting of December 15th, 2022. May I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Like that. Jed was great.
Jed's gonna second that. Okay, all those in favor say yes,
Yes.
and opposed say no.
So our next order of business is election of our chair and vice chair for our year 2023. Like everybody is aware, Vicky is stepping down. This is her last meeting with us. So we need to elect a new chair and a new vice chair. Greg is currently our vice chair. Yes. So we would accept nominations.
I nominate Greg Fuller.
Greg, are you willing to accept your nomination? Any other nominations? All right, all those in favor of Greg being our chair for the year 2023, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Fantastic. All right, we need a nomination for a vice chair.
About it.
Okay, do you accept the nomination?
Sure.
Any other nominations? All those in favor of Ed King being our vice chair for the year 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. Okay, so Greg, I'll let you take over and we'll keep going through our agenda.
So we're moving on to citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens to comment?
None were called in before and I have no citizens in the audience.
Okay. So with that, we'll move on to new business.
We just did new business.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
Old business.
Old business.
There you go.
You can take that. Shit, or that.
Don't include that in the transcript.
Yeah, okay, so on to old business, do I need to read the little deal about action items, or can everybody read? As far
I
as that?
prefer that you read it just in case there's people watching.
Okay, please note that identifying an item as an action item does not require the Historic Preservation Commission to vote on that item. All right, now to old business. Number 1, priorities, plan update and discussion, and that's an action item there.
Okay, so in your packet is an updated version of the priorities plan as discussed the last 2 meetings. So I took out a couple of things that we had talked about. I combined a couple things like we talked about. I added a couple things as was talked about. So the things I wanted to point out and ask the commission about under number 1, priority education, under 3A. The National Historic Preservation Month is May. So if the commission would like to ask council to designate May as their historic preservation month for the city of Lewiston, we need to decide when we want to approach council. We want to do that like as a work session item, which is probably what I would suggest, is maybe get on their work session for March. Kathy, do you agree? Maybe get on the work session for March or April. And that way, if it's agreeable, then that can be proclaimed at the first meeting in May.
Does that have to be through ordinance or resolution?
You know, I don't know if proclamations have to be done through ordinance or resolution. I will verify with legal though.
Because if it's ordinance, it's gonna take a little longer than if it's resolution.
Exactly. Let me make myself a note and I will check with legal on that part. 'Cause I don't know if proclamations have to be done in that manner or if they can just be a proclamation.
Oh, the other one is are we gonna ask the council to do it as a permanent thing or just for this year? I mean, if that's the National Historic Society's,
Like an annual thing.
yeah, an annual thing, they just announce it. Annual thing,
I don't know how that
That's
works.
at the discretion of this group, what you wanna ask, because you're the one making the request.
I think it should be an annual.
I do
I
too.
agree.
Find out about that too.
you need a motion on that?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess you could do a motion to direct staff to, schedule it with council for review.
I don't know, we need that, do
I don't know that, I don't think that legally you have to do that to direct me to do something like that.
Okay, so we don't have to vote.
No, I mean, I think it's an agreement of
The
the group.
consensus.
I mean, you put it on your priorities plan
Yeah.
that you wanted to do that. So I'm just gonna take the next steps in that process.
we? Perfect.
So I'll find out about if it's an ordinance or a resolution. I'll ask the mayor and the clerk for what work session is most appropriate for us to get on so that if the council agrees, then first meeting in May, it would be able to be moved forward.
Okay.
Super. Okay, so then the next one, I wanted the commission to look at is 5A. So this is something I feel like you guys need to put on your to-do list. Develop a list of frequently asked questions and post on our HPC webpage. So we need to figure out what we think those frequently asked questions are. There was also that you guys wanted a comment section for the public to ask questions. My question to this group is, there is already it says, do you have questions, contact us, and my contact information is already listed there. I'm not,
Probably don't have to duplicate.
yeah, I feel like that's a duplication, and if someone had questions, they would go to the contact and call me or email me. I'm not real sure how we would, I mean, it would have to be something where it was either monitored, or I think what would happen is if there was a comment thing, it would just get emailed to me anyway, so I feel like that's duplication of work for IT.
Seems
I
kind of
see.
redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they could just go click to contact me and
Mhm.
pops up the email box and they send me an email. So my thought is that we remove that one since the email is already on the page.
Katie, is there a phone number on the, like,
Yep, and we're gonna actually review the page because I added some links to it and I have some, I need some feedback from the commission on some of the other items.
and
Actually,
the
let's
reason
do
I was asking is because not everybody that might be interested in historical preservation might not be computer savvy. They don't, they might not even know that there's a contact us. I'm not trying to and
You want
just,
to broaden the audience.
I wanna, make sure that have a phone number there that's readily.
Okay, so this is our page, this is your guys' commission page, so you can
Oh,
see that
perfect.
contact us has my name, email me, here's my phone number and my extension.
That seems fine.
That seems perfect.
Clear.
Very clear.
Yeah.
So that's right there at the top, and then so then it has just a little blurb about when the commission was established, what our mission is, information about historic districts, so this links to our chapter 19.5. This links to Idaho code that talks about certificate appropriateness, and then also to the section in 19.5 that talks about the certificate of appropriateness process. The application and checklist is right there. Talks about when our meetings are. Most recent agendas and minutes, that links to the agenda center, so people can pull the agendas and the packets that you guys receive. And then, so this is like our press release that I did for the Orchid Awards. This is the nomination form for Orchid Awards. This is our design guidelines for the West End Historic District, so that very large document that you guys have reviewed that was developed in conjunction with the consultant a couple of years ago. And then as requested, I added the National Register of Historic Places, that link right there. So that takes you to where you can get to that list. We talked about wanting to do that. So that's on there now. And then the State Historic Preservation Office, the SHPO link, that takes you to where the information regarding the historic tax credit are. So I linked to that page on their website there. The other things that you guys wanted me to link, that I haven't gotten on there yet. Okay, so 6A, under education, develop a reference library for exterior improvements. I'm going to add the link to the GSA technical docs, which also comes from the Secretary of the Interior website. So I'll add the link that goes directly to those. And then we were going to add, okay, so this is the one that I have kind of questions of how you guys want me to do this. So you wanted links that went to the building official if people had questions about building code regarding a historic building, which falls under the existing building code. And then also a link to the fire marshal if they had questions about fire code in historic buildings, which in the fire code is not separate for a historic building, like it's just fire code. But so do you want those in that same place under external links with just like a little title? Do you want that further down in the body of the page? Because we have like this section about Orchid Awards, so we could
Yeah, I'd keep it with the links, I think.
there.
With the links.
That way you don't have to look all over the place to try and find it.
Okay, so just doing all my links in a list?
Mm-hmm.
The
Okay,
links
so
list.
So then the other thing, okay, so we have the link to the National Register now. You guys also wanted to do a list of historically significant properties. So I had pulled the list from the consultant when we did the extension of the historic district, and I have the list from the original nomination for the historic district. And those list the properties individually. They are not done in a manner that is linkable. So that is something I would have to create. And they are also not done, like it's like the story of the whole building. So
Okay.
I don't really know how to do that in like a digestible format that people can just be like, oh, I want to. So it might have to be something where similar to the separate pages we're gonna set up for the plaques project,
Mm-hmm.
where maybe we do a link and it's just like historically significant properties in Lewiston, and it takes you, and then it's just a huge list.
Yeah,
that would be.
I like,
Interconnected,
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
they
I don't
basically
think that
overlapping
there's
each
a
other.
good,
Yeah,
easy, manageable way to do it individually. So I think it's just gonna have to go
like a list.
big old
Yeah.
list and have all the information that was generated by the consultant with the expansion, and then generated by whoever did the original nomination, because those are seriously handwritten sheets.
Is
From
all that
1975.
available? Has it been scanned in, so
It's
it's
scanned
digital?
in, so it
Okay.
is,
Digital,
it's in a PDF
Yeah.
file, but it's
big.
like,
I
it's
know, I
just
have
like-
the notebook and
It's just like
yeah.
scrolling through, and the part that's the ones that are from the consultant when we did the expansion, like those I will have to scan separately because they're within that huge design guidelines document. So it's like however many pages out of that document, because there's like between the two, so the whole downtown corridor, I think there's like 73 to 76 historically significant properties. And then on the actual National Register, there's like 17 within the whole of Lewiston, sites and buildings that have been registered. So,
So only 17 registrations, but we got 70 just
70,
plus just
yeah.
downtown, okay.
yeah, that are historically significant.
Okay.
So not necessarily registered,
Right.
but were considered historically significant in creating the district. And those mean like two different things
Right.
in the world of the Secretary of Interior.
But we have nothing outside of the downtown.
We have some listings outside of the downtown. I have not found the information from the overlay zone yet. To see, since that's not a true district, I don't know if they went through and like designated properties as historically significant.
Okay.
Because since an overlay is more of an internal process that us as a jurisdiction took on, rather than like a true district that's done with, the register, I don't know if the same kind of work was done.
Can we ask Kathy since she
I
was,
was trying to think, as far as I know, we never compiled a list for that.
Yeah.
Because we never contacted anybody that would give us that information, so no, that was not done. We talked about, just like the church there on the corner of Pioneer Park, is it significant, as is the Carnegie Library and those kind of things.
Mhm.
It was the law library, so.
Yeah, and I think it might actually be,
I was wondering if
Listed.
it wasn't on the register, and
because there are, so
Somebody
the
was
properties that are
Yeah.
listed on the register, a couple of them are in the Normal Hill Heritage Overlay Zone. And then like, the Tremblay House is, Carnegie is now, you guys did that in 18. So there are a couple, there's just not a lot. Okay, so I will figure out,
I had a comment.
what you got.
So up above where it says if you live in a historic district, I was wondering if we could do some sort of link or whatever, but a map that would show if you live or own in the Normal Hill overlay or the historic district.
Sure.
Because a lot of people aren't gonna know.
That's very true.
We're used to dealing with it, but
Let me talk to the GIS coordinator and
Very good point.
Did you
figure out if she
see
can, because I know that like the zoning maps show that, but it's not awesome looking at them because they're so, like, because it shows everything.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to,
And it's really hard to like tell where the line is, and okay,
yeah,
so-
where, because I don't even know if the streets are, visibly readable on the,
Yeah.
there if you like really blew it up.
okay.
So map,
And maybe just change the phrasing a little bit to differentiate between, the Normal Hill
the overlay and the district,
Yeah, and that,
because like nobody lives in the district. Well,
Right,
you
well-
live in a second story, but you don't live in a single family
right, probably
dwelling.
none of the owners, I would imagine, live in their building. So maybe just kind of change the phrasing to be a little more specific.
Okay, so if you live in the Normal Hill Heritage Overlay, or if you own a building in the West End Historic District, something like that.
Yeah.
Home property or whatever it might be.
And then have maybe a PDF, whatever is gonna work the best to have where they can click over to a map to see whether or not they
Yeah, am I in
fall.
that area?
Yeah.
Okay. I will work with GIS on that.
So
Katie?
Katie, where it says nomination
I
form,
think Ed's point was really good, that I think I heard him say, is if you own the property, because there's more than 50% of the homes in Normal Hill are non-owner occupied.
Yeah, so if you own property on Normal Hill, or
So
in the
if- the rules would not apply to you, it would apply to the owner. If you're not a non-owner, it wouldn't apply to you. Because you wouldn't be doing all kinds of structural things if you didn't own
Right.
it. Huh?
You might though.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
If you're a renter.
We've had non-owners come in to do things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Well, and so, and I think the other problem is,
I know in Moscow.
I might talk to legal about how it might be best to phrase that.
right.
because when I was doing the
I don't-
surveys through there, I did not approach anyone that I knew was not an owner of.
Right, one, so I guess my concern is, so a lot of them are rentals, but they're sometimes ran by a rental company or, you know, the contractor is who comes in and pulls the permit and is then like,
If they
Oh,
have to replace the window, yes.
so having that language in there that maybe makes it more clear that any of the properties are subject to these rules.
Yeah.
They are subject to it, but, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, so I will figure out, language to make that more clear.
Okay.
Where it says nomination form, is that nomination for membership of the commission?
No, that's an orchid,
That's an orchid.
yeah, so I'll rename that, cause
Yeah.
that was before
And
my
what's the
time.
press release for?
Press releases for, the Orchid Awards. So that one I updated when I did the last, Orchid Awards, but again, probably just needs to be,
Needed or?
yeah, or just relabeled.
Add Orchid Award to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Just a picture of
Click
it.
on the order.
that one did that one. Okay, okay, I think that that's all of the things. So member list will get updated after this meeting. Then we have the information about the Orchid Awards and my little slideshow from our last one. Information about the Carnegie Library, since that's the last registration nomination that we did. And that's kind of it. Okay. We can just leave that up. Okay.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. So under restoration possibilities on number 4, we have the Carnegie Building listed there.
Mhm.
And there are things going on with that now.
Correct.
But do we know about what all is going on with it?
Yes.
Okay.
So I provided an update at the last meeting, I'll provide that to you guys again today. So on the Carnegie Building, our facilities manager and our grant manager are going after some federal funding to do repair and restoration work to the exterior of the building. It needs about $250,000 worth of work for like brick reappointing, painting, there's a couple other, like some water infiltration problems, stuff like that. So they are working on, that actually, I think they're complete with that application. So waiting to find out if they've been awarded funds to, do that work. But it is on kind of like the list of things, that the city is working on. And then, on the towers, so the towers that had been, renovated recently, that was the Modi Park Conservatory group and Gary Bush, and they secured grant funding of about $20,000 to complete that restoration. Again, our grant writer, Melinda Rose is working with Gary and that group again to try to get some additional grant funding to do the other ones that,
Or in the park, right?
no, they did the ones that are in the park, to do the ones that are on Vineyard,
Street.
yeah.
Oh, okay,
On 8th.
okay.
So that's also kind of in the works. Yes, Pat?
That's off topic, so just whenever you finish that topic, I wanna talk about this.
Sure. Okay, so does that answer your questions,
Yes.
Vicky, on that one? Okay,
Yes,
super.
Just a quick, do you know if they're gonna do anything with the dome that was on the Carnegie?
I have no idea. That would be a question for Marks.
Okay.
Okay, so then other question for the group. So under C, commercial building owners in the West End Historic District. You guys put under C3, incentivize reusing historic buildings by offering monetary incentives, reduce costs the city has control over, such as reduction in permit fees and city utility hookup fees. So the two things, and I'll put chapter 40 on the next agenda so that we can review that. So we do have a developer incentive program already that the city has established. It's covered under chapter 40 of city code. There are, stipulations and criteria and thresholds that have to be met to qualify for those monies, but that's exactly what it does, is it waives certain fees. The other thing, our grant writer is going after a national grant that would allow for us to be the prime grantor and issue grants to sub-grantees of buildings that are either historically listed or are historically significant as determined by SHPO and the National Register. And that would, if we receive that grant money, we could then do sub-grants to people for that exact thing, to reuse buildings, to update buildings. So
That's awesome.
that application will go in February. I'm not sure when they do the actual award. I just know that our application has to go in by February. We had a meeting about that earlier this week. But we can review that developer incentive program that currently exists. I don't know that it makes,
Madam Chair, one of the things I know about the qualifications for those developers is they're pretty steep criteria as far as, and I think it would be beneficial for the council to review, maybe make an exception for historical buildings and lower the criteria for that, in that particular case.
so I know that they just did some amendments to chapter 40. I'm not, since that's not a chapter that I deal with a lot, I'm not positive what all those amendments were. I mean, it's definitely a suggestion you guys can make to council if you choose to do so. I think my only concern would be, usually they try to make things, fair playing field for everybody.
Right.
And so specifically, I guess, if we are successful in getting that larger grant where we can do the sub-grants, those would be really specific to historic buildings because you have to meet the Fed standards of that. And then you also have to meet the Fed standards for preservation efforts. So unfortunately, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know how you make it easier because federal money has a lot of requirements to use it. It is, of course, different when it's the city's money, which is what the developer incentive program is. So I don't know. I mean, I would probably encourage you guys to read chapter 40. I can include that in the next packet so you can read through. We can have Melinda come to the meeting. You can ask questions of her. If you want to consider how you make that work for people in the downtown corridor who do have historic buildings that want to improve them. I think that's the starting point, is making sure that you really understand what's in that chapter and how someone would apply for that before you start asking them to make changes.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a good idea for the commission to review that.
I do too.
So I will include that on the February agenda.
Maybe a chapter 40 review or something to that effect.
Chapter 40, and I'll ask Melinda to attend. Super. Okay, so then the other one was under D, residential building owners in the Normal Hill Heritage Overlay Zone and considering a city grant program to help Normal Hill Heritage Overlay owners with exterior preservation costs. So that would be something we would need to work with the grant manager to develop. It would require council approval. We would need to determine what thresholds were, what the criteria would be, what kind of improvements you would grant monies for. You would need to figure out where you're gonna ask for that money from. There's a lot of pieces that would need to be figured out on that one. So we might need to scoot that farther down the line, and maybe we start with the chapter 40 thing, figure that out.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And then,
that seems like the natural progression of that.
and then once you kind of have a good understanding of that, you know, we can keep moving down the line of your list of things you want to do. Okay. Okay, that was all of my questions for the group, so I have a little bit of direction, so I'll move forward with those things. Okay,
Did you have something, Kathy?
Oh, thank you.
oh, yes, sorry.
Going back to what you were doing, Katie, and you were showing us how to navigate this. I think this was a really good exercise for all of us, and maybe council. When you approach council for anything, maybe this would be a presentation not only to them, but to the public.
Of how to
Because-
navigate,
I'm sorry?
how to navigate.
Yeah, and what's in here, and why look at it. What good you're doing is, should be in there, you know, you've got the Orchid Awards for recognition and et cetera. So it's another way to promote yourself, but just show them how to navigate through it and what's in there.
Part of the education
Yes,
that we're looking for.
for the council
That's a good
members
idea.
and the public.
All right, I think we can move on to number 2 unless anybody else had any other comments, questions, changes, updates, direction for me.
All good?
Just keep chipping away at it.
That's kind of all we can do.
Used to be.
Let's move on to number 2 then in old business. Plaques Project Subcommittee Update and Timeline of Project, another action item.
Okay, so in your packet, there is the timeline for the project as a whole.
It's on the back page, last page.
Yeah, it should be like the last page.
Was this our meeting?
Yeah, so on here, we have meeting dates of both the subcommittee and regular commission meetings, and what is going to occur at each one. So today, regular meeting, so I wanted to ask the commission to assist us with some outreach. So I sent letters about a month ago to all the property owners. I received one response to the letter saying, yes, I'm excited. So then following,
So my oral response didn't count, huh?
no.
Oh,
So, and
Liberty is excited.
Yes, so then after the meeting on the 12th, I went through and found everybody that I have, all the building owners or associated whoever that I have emails for, I emailed all of them. And so that's not the full list, I don't have contact information for everybody, but it is a number of them. So I emailed Liberty Theater, I emailed Jay Starnes, I emailed Brendan Byer, I emailed Flipside Properties, 515, 517 Main. There are 3 properties that are the city. There are 4 properties that are Landmark Property Group, which is Mr. Alexander. 407 Main. The museum has a site, not a building, and then 855 Main, which is the Masonic Temple. So I received emails back from Mr. Alexander saying he's very excited. We're work with us however, so I will meet with, his office gal to figure out appropriate locations on their buildings. Ditto for Brandon Byer, who now owns Morgan's Alley, again, just wants to be part of where, on the building. Liberty Theater, who said that Dennis mentioned it, but did not remember getting my letter. But said,
I got the letter and I passed it on and it came.
well, so Jan emailed me back and she was like,
Sometimes that's
I didn't get a letter, but, so again, just wants to work on, best location for installation. That's Mark's. Tevin Taylor, who is the owner of 855, said he was all down. I'm going to meet with the library board, not next week, the following week, to, I guess, present to them, and discuss what will be on the plaque and where the plaque will go. So that's on my list.
Did you mention 515, 517? Is there new owners there then?
No, it still shows it's owned by Travis, so.
Oh, okay.
Is it any of the GMS properties on there?
Selton Properties?
Yeah. Okay.
None of them are listed.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at there.
And what do you need from the museum?
So I'm not positive where we're gonna put that sign, but more so just, yeah, we're okay with you guys doing a sign. I mean, that's the basic response I'm looking for from any of the building owners saying, yes, we are willing to let you put this plaque on our building.
Okay. Do you need somebody to go around and talk to these people, or what would you like to
Yes, so
do?
that's where we're at now. So we have a meeting on Monday with the subcommittee. And I'm hoping maybe I'll have a couple more responses by then. But so I should have by then like the full list of who needs to be followed up with, who I don't have a yes from.
Okay.
And then we
I'd
we
be
can
more than
figure out
happy
getting
to-
out and contacting, because the problem is I don't have like phone numbers.
Right.
So it's not
I'd
like
be
I can
happy
just
to
call
beat the
people up.
street if we needed somebody to beat the street.
So I think that that's what it's gonna end up
Okay.
coming down to, is at least for the ones that are local, visiting the business and being like, hey, how do I get hold of your building owner, trying to get something. Because I've used all the manners of communication that I have available to me, and I'm only getting so far. And so since this is the commission's project, not Katie's project, the commission needs to assist.
And when I did the inventory of those plaques, I did talk to a few of the people, and it was more than a good response. They were just, more
Yeah, I
happy
don't
that-
necessarily think that we're gonna get negative responses from
No, we just
anybody. I
need to
think anybody will
touch
be
base.
excited about us doing this. It's just getting them to respond.
Can I volunteer? I need to get a hold of Tammy Myers anyway, and I believe the 515, 517 have sold.
Okay.
So I can ask her about that because they were the listing agent on it. And that might be something that because of the state that they're in, if they're gonna be doing some construction
See,
on
and
that.
that's my other concern, is because that's one that is probably gonna have construction on it at some point. And then ditto for the Palucci's building where Taft is gonna go, that's also in the middle of having construction done.
There's a lot going on there.
So it might be difficult to find a location. I don't have it in front of me. But I mean, those are just things to like keep in mind, right? Okay, so otherwise, you can see that the subcommittee is trying to meet every 2 weeks. They're working on drafting the plaques language. Leah has been plugging away at that. Peggy is supposed to be plugging away at that. I have not heard from her, so I have absolutely no idea. So we're hoping by the February meeting, regular commission meeting, that we will review all of that language for all 23 plaques, and you guys will approve it.
Wow.
Then I can order the plaques. We will then start working on the narratives for the QR codes. So all the stuff that you'll have a little bit that goes in the plaque, and you'll have so much that goes in the QR code, right? So again, the idea is working plodding through slowly but completely through the QR code narratives. Working on so many of those each meeting, bringing so many of those back to the HPC as a full commission to approve. Getting those narratives loaded to the website. The QR codes won't necessarily go live. Well, it doesn't matter because they can go live because they're not gonna be on a building. They're gonna be sitting in my office. But getting the narratives loaded to the web pages, again, plodding through, getting the narratives done, reviewing the narratives, approving the narratives, kind of same steps for 2 or 3 months in a row, before we are, ready to install plaques and then have an unveiling. So that's,
So maybe by summer?
Standard height
Sorry.
from the from the ground
That's
that
me,
you want
for
them
me.
visually?
I need to go look and see what the height is of the other ones, because I felt like those were all in a pretty
Yeah.
standard, maybe 4 feet or 5 feet off the ground. So I'll probably do a little bit of research on that to figure out like what's,
Send us a note.
yeah, and just be like, okay, this is what everybody else is at.
Well, and what would be nice is, I know it really depends on the building, but if we try to go for left side, right side,
Right, and have it be sort of
so people at least
consistent,
kind of know what part of the building to be
looking at.
for, but ideally,
Yeah.
Leah,
Well, who knows, some spots are not, buildings are.
not gonna work.
Yeah, they're.
Right, you might only have one spot where
Yeah,
you.
there's only gonna be one spot that it could actually
Leah, did
work.
you have anything else you wanted to add since you were on that subcommittee and have been attending the meetings?
No, just plugging away at it. The challenge was because there was some that already had plaques on there, a lot of the good information was taken already, so trying to decide what to put on the plaque that doesn't repeat the plaque that's gonna be right next to it.
Well, are we going
So
to,
that's, some of those might be a little thin on narrative.
are we gonna leave the old plaques up?
Yep.
Or are we gonna
Yeah.
take them down?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I would think you just
Okay,
leave.
just leave them up?
Yeah, we ain't touching the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't want people to read and then go, well, that's the exact same thing, cause some of it was like the exact same thing, cause it's all being taken from the
And
same
that-
sources.
That information, if so we decide, we can just repeat it on the QR instead of
Yeah,
being
'cause
on
we're
the
hoping
plaque.
that, some of that stuff will have photos and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't mind repeating the plaque information on the QR code, but if 2 plaques are right next to each other, I don't
Yeah.
have the exact same.
Yeah, I don't think, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
you might
you're
just read
exactly
one
right.
and then like ignore the second one and not even like realize there's a QR code that might have lots of other cool stuff, and I mean,
Yeah.
that's the point, is getting people to all
So
the
I'm
other
gonna
cool
do what I
stuff.
can, and then we'll look at it and we'll go, oh, that's pretty thin, anybody have any ideas on that? But basically, I've got this information that Steve uploaded, and it's been extremely helpful, and then I had some of the old walking tour books. And so kind of pulling it all together and going through, but a lot of it was already put on those plaques. I mean, I know from my list, I think I only have 5 out of 13, but so it's been very helpful to have all that information, and I think we can make the QR code pages look nice, because I think for mine, I've got portraits of the owner, the original owner, of the contractor. We've got even some interesting newspaper clippings that, like some obituaries that tell all about the owner of the building, and escapes me who it was, but one of them knew Buffalo Bill Cody and General Custer, and so,
Right.
some of that kind of stuff, that'll just be
Cool.
kind of an, and they can put that with the face on the QR,
Cool project.
yeah, so I think it'll be good. It's just taking more time than
Is there any legwork that I could help with at this time for the subcommittee, like taking pictures or going around? Would any of that help you guys to?
Do we have, so the pictures you gave me of the plaques are all of the plaques that are up? Okay.
Okay.
Some of them are pretty hard to read, but I could usually kind of figure it out because the narrative is so similar. I could usually go, okay, they've already covered that.
Right, like in my
Okay,
pictures or
cool.
not.
Okay, good.
Unfortunately, I went like on a sunny day, and so the shadows were against
Okay.
me.
I was able to pretty much glean, what
Mhm.
was covered on there, so I don't think so at this point, but
But if you
if I
guys-
do, I'll
all right.
start hollering.
Pretty cool.
Thanks.
And you could always attend the meeting on Monday and
I surely could.
see if there's anything that they can
Yeah.
use you for.
Drive yourself out of
If I had a file sitting in your email Monday morning that had the draft language, is that enough time for you to print it off
If
for
as
the
long as I
meeting?
have like 30 minutes, I can print and have it ready for
Okay.
the meeting.
Cause I'll be doing a lot of work Friday and Sunday probably.
Super.
So, like I said, I don't know, I haven't talked to her at all, so I don't have any idea where Peggy is on any of that.
I'm gonna
so.
try to follow up with her again after this meeting, since I did not get a response to the last email I sent.
I need to pick that up, I'm gonna have to know.
Right, we're gonna have to get that figured out. Okay, super, okay, so that kind of covers that. So I already went over the website, so I think we can skip.
Skip that. So we go on to commissioner comments?
Yeah, so Lorinda had talked about a video she wanted to share. Unfortunately, she's not here and she did not provide me the video beforehand. So I'll put that again on the next
Sure.
meeting agenda and hopefully she'll be able to attend and bring that with her.
And what was it about?
I don't remember. It was some historical thing that the high school kids had been involved and there was a video made and she just thought it was really cool and wanted to share it with us and the website.
Okay.
So then other things, just as a thing, there is a calendar in your packet. So our regular meetings are green. Subcommittee meetings are orange, and then pink are just city holidays, because that's just how the calendar comes to me, so. Just so everybody has that for their binder. There was also a copy of the bylaws, just because we like to provide those at the beginning of each year, when we do the election of chair and vice chair. And then my other comment is, since Miss Ross is leaving us, we would like to present her with a plaque for 5 years of dedicated service to the HPC.
Very cool.
That's really beautiful.
Thank you,
for all
Vicky.
you've done, and all of the guidance you've provided. It is very appreciated. I think that's it for mine. So query of commissioners who can attend the next regular scheduled meeting, which is February 2nd.
Yep, I'll be here.
Fantastic, I got no no's. And then last reminder, since we will have an open spot, it has been posted on the city website, but if you know anybody who would like to come hang out with this group, has an eye or an ear for historic preservation, or a desire to volunteer, please reach out to them, tell them to contact either me or the city clerk for an application.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
May I go backwards for just a second? Catherine Kirk from the Idaho Heritage Trust has suggested that the museum pursue historic preservation or historic designation for the museum building itself, because of the way it was built and by whom it was built and the time frame and all of that. So I don't know where that's going to go, but it has been suggested at this stage.
To be, I'm sorry, Dennis, did you say to be
On the
nominated?
National Register.
Oh, wow,
Pretty cool.
yeah.
There's quite a history of the men who were here from both the work corps and the conservation corps to in the valley. What they did.
Was that
What it
during the
was,
New Deal?
Even what it was during the war.
During the New Deal, right?
Trying to do get their
My
ration
dad
cards.
might have been part of that. He was,
So we're good, do a motion to,
Anyone else have any comments? Kathy, do you have any comments?
One thing, Ed, you asked about the dome on
Yeah.
the Carnegie. It seems to me then when the two, Trish Kennedy and the other gentleman came up and we were driving through Normal Hill, we talked about the dome and they said it doesn't disqualify it. I mean, it doesn't disqualify
Right.
for, being on the register, and of course, we've got the register, so I think that,
Probably
we need
not.
the appointment, huh?
Do you think they're going to redo it or probably not?
No.
Okay.
At that point in time, they said no.
Yeah, well, it's probably
And the
being like
fact that
a
it
lot
went
of money.
on to help with the war effort was,
Yes, gotcha.
last I remember hearing about it was that the dome somewhere in town was what, I think Branding was talking about that. That dome came off and nobody ever knew what happened to it.
I don't doubt it.
when they did it, but
Yeah.
I think the final outcome on that was, I think that it was kind of considered it might have ended up in a dome, which is a bummer. But for a long time, there was kind of like the Lions, you know what I mean? They're somewhere in town.
I mean, it's still a beautiful building no
Who's got
matter
the
what.
dome in their backyard, you know, with flowers growing over the top of it, things like that. But
The only thing I could think of is being it was a Carnegie building, it probably is somewhere in a dusty archive somewhere.
yeah, it
With
very
the
well
plan on
could
how
be.
to do the dome.
But I remember that discussion where they said that, you know, the dome doesn't affect it, like Kathy had just said.
Good.
Yeah, I believe the nomination like talks about that too.
Yeah.
So I had to pull the nomination paperwork for.
Is it on the registry? It is on the
It
registry.
is on the registry, yeah, that was an effort by this group in 18, I believe. So I had to pull all that paperwork for the grant writer as part of the application that they did for the
I'm
funding
just
to do the.
so happy to hear that they're going to
Restoration.
address it.
So
And Marie
I just,
Emerson was responsible for getting
motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second. One of you two? All those in
I'll do
favor
the
say,
second.
what was it, yay?
Yay!
All those opposed? Nope, we're done, guys.
Awesome.